You're standing at the edge of a massive stone plaza. The irrigation canals are completely dry, packed with dust and cracked mud. The grand granaries, built to feed tens of thousands of citizens, are hollow, echoing empty rooms. The palaces of the kings and priests are abandoned, swallowed rapidly by jungle vines or wind-blown desert sands. 10 years ago, this city was the beating heart of an empire. Today, it is a ghost town. And you are walking through the silence of a collapsed world. You didn't lose a war. There are no invading armies at the gates. The enemy wasn't another civilization. It was the Earth itself, and the systems that became too rigid to survive a changing climate. We love to look at the monuments of ancient empires, the towering pyramids, the paved roads, the majestic temples, and assume they fell because of sudden, violent invasions. But history tells a much more terrifying and subtle truth. Most great civilizations didn't get conquered. They unraveled from the inside out. They collapsed because they grew too complex, too dependent on fragile supply chains, and completely blind to ecological warning signs. Take the classic Maya civilization around 800 AD. For centuries, they built towering city-states across the dense rainforests of Central America, supporting millions of people through advanced agriculture and water management. But they engineered their own trap. To feed their growing populations, they cut down vast swaths of forest to clear fields and burn limestone for their massive plaster monuments. This massive deforestation altered local weather patterns, stopping the predictable seasonal rainfall. When a series of severe, multi-decade megadroughts hit the region, the system couldn't adapt. The kings promised rain through rituals. The rain didn't come. Society fractured into civil wars, famine, and mass migration. The jungle took the cities back. Or look at the Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BC. In a matter of decades, almost every major Mediterranean civilization, the Mycenaeans, the Hittites, the New Kingdom of Egypt, and the bustling trade networks of the Levant, simultaneously disintegrated. It wasn't just one bad harvest. It was a domino effect. A sudden climate shift brought crop failures, which triggered mass migrations, which led to piracy and trade blockades, which starved urban centers of bronze, grain, and stability. Once the interconnected globalized web broke, no single kingdom had the local resources to survive alone. By every historical measure, when a complex civilization hits that kind of wall, it should spell the permanent end of the story. The infrastructure vanishes, the writing systems are forgotten, populations crash by 80 or 90%, and survivors regress into small, fragmented bands. And yet, humanity is still here. Because a civilization can collapse, but human beings do not. The secret isn't in saving the empire. It's in the art of the reset. When the Bronze Age superpowers fell, the rigid, centralized palace economies died with them. But ordinary people, farmers, metallurgists, and sailors, scattered into the hills and coastal islands, creating smaller, more resilient, decentralized communities. They learned to farm on terraced hillsides, found new ironworking techniques that didn't rely on rare international trade routes for tin and copper, and reinvented simpler, alphabet-based writing systems that anyone could learn, rather than keeping literacy locked away in elite royal courts. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century, under the weight of economic corruption and external pressures, the grand imperial machine broke into pieces. Cities shrank, trade routes vanished, and the centralized authority of Rome was gone forever. But inside those ruins, local communities didn't just vanish.
Monasteries became seed vaults of knowledge, copying ancient texts, while local artisans learned to build entirely new agricultural economies from the ground up. Out of the ashes of Rome grew the foundation of medieval Europe, which eventually laid the groundwork for the modern world. This is the hidden pattern of human history. Civilization is fragile, but human adaptability is indestructible. Every great collapse exposed the fatal flaw of overcomplexity. When a society puts all its eggs in one basket, relying on a single crop, a single trade route, or an untouchable ruling class, it becomes brittle. Brittle things shatter when the wind changes. But humans are not brittle. When the old rules stop working, we throw them out. We disperse. We invent new tools. We find water elsewhere, plant different seeds, and build smaller, tighter networks of trust that can survive when the grand imperial networks fail. For thousands of years, empires have risen, grown arrogant, ignored their ecological limits, and violently crashed into the dirt. We have watched cities turn to dust and witnessed the end of the world over and over again. Every generation has had to face its own version of total systemic failure. And every single time, someone walked away from the ruins, looked at the empty horizon, and decided to start planting seeds again. Because deep down, humanity understood the ultimate truth of our history. An empire is just a temporary arrangement. But survival? Survival is what we were built for.